10. Amber Young. In March of 2018, police pulled a woman over in Marana, Arizona on suspicion of driving under the influence. To their surprise, they found a woman in a white dress behind the wheel. Infamously dubbed the DUI bride, Amber Young allegedly told the officers that she was on her way to her wedding and that she was worried about missing it. When questioned by authorities, she claimed she was completely sober. However, a witness told police they saw Young swerving in and out of traffic before hitting a median. She also performed poorly on several field sobriety tests. The officers arrested her and took her down to the station, at which point she reportedly admitted to drinking some champagne that day. Her blood alcohol level was twice the legal limit. Not long after the arrest, Young's lawyer tweeted that the arrest and photo were a hoax. Her attorneys claimed that their client never said she was getting married and that the police made it up. They argued that Young wasn't engaged, she wasn't wearing a wedding dress, and that she was on her way to have lunch with a friend. But police body cam footage told a different story. Video of the viral arrest showed Young repeatedly mentioning that it was her wedding day, claiming that she was nervous about the upcoming ceremony, and saying she was worried about being late. In the end, Young pleaded guilty to DUI and criminal damage. 9. Danya Glenny. While attending a wedding reception in Longwood, Florida in early 2022, a guest began feeling weird after having some food and wine. It concerned him enough to call the local sheriff's department. When deputies arrived, he said he felt like he had drugs in his system. By then, several other wedding guests were reportedly getting sick, complaining of stomach pain, and they called for paramedics. One man said he was feeling ill and high, and said he wanted to press charges against whoever laced his food. Another guest claimed that the food was laced with marijuana. Up to 50 people felt sick, and several were taken to the hospital. When deputies asked the bride, 42-year-old Danya Glenny, if she had asked the caterer to lace the food with cannabis, or if she had consented to it, she allegedly responded with a long, blank stare before replying, no. Her new husband seemed genuinely surprised by the idea that the food might be laced, and said that he was not responsible for it. He further explained that he thought maybe some guests had brought their own edibles. During their efforts to locate the catering staff from Joyceland's Southern Kitchen, the responding deputies learned that they had already left. In body cam footage that was released to the public, they can be heard telling ailing guests not to drive and instructing catering staff not to throw anything away. Arrest warrants stated that one guest asked Jocelyn Bryant, who owns the catering company, if there was any marijuana in the food, and that she giggled in response. However, the guest apparently didn't take her seriously and helped herself to some food. After she began to feel strange, she asked Glenny if the olive oil contained marijuana, to which the bride allegedly shook her head yes and acted excited. Authorities charged Glenny and Bryant, the owner of the catering company, with tampering, negligence, and delivery of marijuana. 8. Claire Goodbrand. A Scottish couple's wedding turned out to be memorable for all the wrong reasons, when a mass brawl broke out during the reception in 2019. While celebrating their vows with family and friends in West Lothian, Scotland, the newlywed bride, Claire Goodbrand, attacked her mother, Sherry Ann Lindsay, with her stiletto. She also allegedly grabbed Lindsay by the hair and put her in a chokehold, causing the victim to fear for her life. Claire's husband, Eamon, and his brother/best man joined in on the huge fight, which started after a day of heavy drinking. Lindsay's partner, David Boyd, was left severely injured. Police arrested the Goodbrands and their best man, who all spent the night in separate jail cells. They ultimately pleaded guilty to assault. 3 years after the attack, Lindsay told the Scottish Sun that she evicted Claire and Eamon from a property she owns shortly after the wedding. She also completely disinherited Claire, ensuring that her daughter won't receive any of her assets or money. She accused Claire and Eamon of only caring about money and decided to cut them out of the will despite Claire being an only child. Neighbors and other sources told reporters that the Goodbrands are no longer living together and that they have separate addresses in Glasgow, but they're often seen visiting each other, leaving the nature of their current relationship a mystery. 7. Jessica Vega. A Montgomery, New York man named Michael O'Connell received devastating news in 2010 when his girlfriend, Jessica Vega, told him that she was suffering from a rare form of leukemia and had just 6 months left to live. The story began to circulate and was featured in the news, and the couple received over $13,000 in donations from friends and well-wishers for their wedding and honeymoon. A few months after the couple exchanged their vows, O'Connell began to suspect that his wife didn't really have cancer. His instinct proved correct. O'Connell reported Vega to the police and divorced her, and she was arrested on numerous charges relating to the deception. News headlines accused Vega of scamming people in order to pay for her dream wedding, but she claimed that it was a last-ditch effort to save her failing relationship. In a 2020 interview, Vega said that O'Connell had moved out of their shared home before she told him about their alleged cancer diagnosis. She claimed that if she didn't somehow get his attention, she would be doomed to be a single mom. She pleaded guilty to scheming to defraud and possession of a forged instrument, and was sentenced to time served after spending several months in jail awaiting the conclusion of the case. Vega repaid all her donors with the help from her father, although she admitted that she knew it wouldn't necessarily buy their forgiveness. Her lawyer, Jeremy Flaherty, told CBS News that the fake cancer scheme wasn't pre-planned, but that it was like a snowball going downhill. In a surprising twist, Vega and O'Connell reconciled and moved back in together while the case was still being dealt with in court. However, their relationship ended once again. When Vega was arrested in San Antonio for an alleged kidnapping in 2022, O'Connell called local news station KSAT to make sure they knew about her past. 6. Kate Elizabeth Pritchard. Just hours after their wedding in 2017, 25-year-old Kate Elizabeth Pritchard and her husband, James Burton, got into an argument at the Clarion Inn Motel in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. During the heated disagreement, Pritchard allegedly pointed a 9mm pistol at Burton's head and pulled the trigger. Luckily, no shots were fired and nobody was injured. She then loaded a round into the gun's chamber and fired a shot into the air. The newlywed bride was still in her wedding dress when police arrived at the scene. They responded to a call about a woman threatening to shoot her husband after he pushed her against a wall. Both the bride and groom were uncooperative with officers and denied that anything was wrong. Witnesses, on the other hand, reported seeing the couple drinking and arguing outside their room. Police took Pritchard into custody on an aggravated domestic assault charge and informed Burton that their honeymoon was over and his new wife was going to jail. At the time of the arrest, it was unclear whether Pritchard knew that there was no bullet in the gun when she shot it the first time. The case was dropped the following year. 5. Stephanie Genis. While responding to a domestic disturbance call at a Hilton hotel in Naples, Florida in 2022, police encountered a crying bride with blood on her wedding dress and a torn strap. Her mother told officers that her newlywed daughter, 32-year-old Stephanie Genis, had gotten into some sort of altercation with her husband, 43-year-old John Gerhard. By then, Gerhard had left the property in his vehicle. Genis allegedly told the authorities that she started the fight, but wound up having to physically defend herself when it turned into a wrestling match. According to a police report, she suffered from bruises, a bloody nose, a busted lip, and a swollen eye. She was evaluated by paramedics, but declined further medical treatment. While officers were interviewing Genis, her husband called his new father-in-law and told him that Genis headbutted him and broke his nose. The police report noted that Gerhard eventually returned to the hotel and took responsibility for causing his wife's injuries. He also declined medical attention. Inside the hotel room, police found a bloody dress shirt and washcloth, along with fresh bloodstains on the carpet, linens, bathroom floor, and desk. Gerhardt and Genus were both charged with domestic battery and booked into the Collier County Jail. However, they were released the next day on a $1,000 bond. 4. Runaway jewel thief. A man who wanted to get married in India was robbed by his bride after paying around $850 to have his nuptials arranged in 2022. In a complaint filed at the Bilhour police station in the country's Kanpur district, the victim, known only as Arvind, said that he hired the matchmaking services of two men who set him up with a bride named Ruchi. After forking over the payment, he was shown a photo of the woman, and they exchanged vows the next day. Ruchi moved into Arvind's home, but she wasn't there long. Just a few days after she arrived, Arvind woke up to find her gone, along with jewelry, clothing that was gifted to her at the wedding, and around $365 in cash that he kept in a box. He then received a phone call from his bride, who reportedly told him that she doesn't love him and not to call her again. According to the most recent update, police were still investigating the situation. It isn't the first time something like this has happened in India. In 2021, a groom in Uttar Pradesh who was struggling to find a bride sought help from two men who claimed to know a marriageable woman. His family paid to have the wedding arranged and were shocked when the bride and the two men vanished shortly after the wedding with stolen cash and jewelry. 3. Ashley Jordan. One newlywed couple apparently partied a little too hard while celebrating their vows along Prescott, Arizona's Whiskey Row Street in 2019. The chaos started when someone called the police and reported that a woman in a wedding dress was trying to assault an employee at one of the historic district's many saloons. While officers confronted 30-year-old Ashley Jordan, her husband, 32-year-old Eric Cordova, allegedly became aggressive toward law enforcement. A deputy tried to restrain him, but he resisted, and the policeman fell to the ground. Several other members of the wedding party reportedly joined the brawl, and Jordan was later accused of striking an officer with her open palm. Two officers sustained minor injuries during the altercation. Jordan and Cordova were charged with aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer, resisting arrest, and disorderly conduct. 3 others were also arrested in connection with the case, with one partygoer being accused of aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer, while the 2 others were cited for disorderly conduct. 2. Lockdown wedding. During the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic, South Africa imposed some of the world's strictest lockdown measures. However, the new rules didn't stop one couple from going forward with their wedding during the second week of lockdown in 2020, despite a nationwide ban on public gatherings. Police received a tip about the unnamed pair ignoring the coronavirus regulations and arrested them at their wedding in KwaZulu-Natal. Authorities didn't stop there. They also apprehended 50 of their guests and the pastor who was conducting the ceremony. A viral video shows the groom helping his new bride into the back of a police vehicle. It seemed as though authorities were more than happy to let the incident act as an example of what might happen to anyone else who got caught breaking lockdown rules. Officials in the city of Umlathus, where the couple was arrested, announced that the newlyweds would be spending their honeymoon under stringent bail conditions. 1. Tammy Hinton. 53-year-old Tammy Hinton was still in her wedding dress and had just exchanged vows with her new husband at a church in Jackson, Ohio, when police picked her up on a 3-year-old felony warrant in 2011. Law enforcement believed she had moved to Florida, and when they heard that she would be in town for her wedding, they decided to seize the opportunity to take her into custody. Officers had reportedly discussed whether to serve the warrant on Tammy's wedding day, but it was the only reliable information they had on her upcoming whereabouts. Public Safety Officer Rick Gillespie told NBC 24, "We can't ignore it when we have good information on where she's going to be. We had to do what we had to do." According to Gillespie, they were nice enough to let her pose for photos with her wedding party before taking her in. He said that Tammy was shocked and initially had no idea what was going on. She spent about a half hour in jail before being released on bond and was picked up by her husband, marking a less than romantic beginning to their marriage. Would you rather get arrested on your wedding day or find out at the last minute that you booked the reception venue for the wrong date? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.